Okay, today we're going to do a concept 11, and that is to describe the process of solving an equation or inequality. So I've written down here the steps in solving an equation. The first one is you want to combine all your like terms, and then you want to isolate, or you want to get them by itself, the terms that contain the variable that you wish to solve for. And then you want to isolate the variable you wish to solve for. And then step 4, substitute your answer into the original, and of course always check to see that it works. So we're going to try an example. The example that we're going to do is 8t plus 13 equals 37. So we have a equation here since we do have an equal sign. So the first thing you always want to do is to draw a vertical line through the equal sign. So I like to draw my line like this. And the reason why, sorry, there's an equal sign still. And the reason why I do that is because whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, in order to make it a true equation, I must do to the other side. The next thing I'm going to do after I draw that vertical line is, since 13 is being added, and remember the next step is to isolate your variable, and since we don't have any terms to collect and combine, we can just now work on both sides of the equal sign here. So we're going to isolate the variable as best we can. The first thing we're going to do that is to take and subtract 13. And the reason why is because if I add 13 to 8t, well, to get that out of there, basically to get rid of that, I just subtract it, which means I do it to the other side, and that becomes 24 when I subtract. And then left over here, I still have 8t equals. Okay, and when I solve for 8t equals, then I say, well, if it's 8 times t equals 24, I'm still working on isolating my variable. Again, isolate means to get it by itself. So right now, 8 is being multiplied by t. And because of that, I need to divide to do the inverse operation or the opposite. So I want to divide, and then that gets the 8's canceled out. Whatever I did to one side, I have to do the other. So that means that 24 divided by 8 equals 3. So if we're going to put that back in, let's just substitute really quick the 3 in here and just check to see if this works. So I know I crossed off a lot of things here, but if we follow the order of operations to see if this works out, let's do 8 times, remember it was 8t, so 8 times 3 is 24. So that's 24. 24 plus 13 is equal to 37. So I've gone back and I've double checked to make sure that the solution works, and t equals 3. Now it's time for you to practice. So the first practice problem, I guess it's the only one on this page, it says describe and number your step-by-step solution using words to solve the problem. So if I take and I write 4s minus 82 equals 198. And it does say to describe my process. So the first thing that I would do here is I would draw my line. So draw a vertical line so that whatever I do to one side, I do the other. So I'm going to draw that vertical line. The second step here is to isolate the terms that contain the variable. So that just means I've got to get rid of the 82 somehow, and I've got to get rid of the 4. So I need to isolate, or get them by themselves. Isolate the term with the variable. So what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is there's a subtract 82. So this time I want to add, because the opposite of subtraction is addition. And when I add, these cancel. And then when I add those up, that becomes 18. That's 280. And now I want to further isolate my variable. So I added 82 before. Now I want to Well, if 4 times s equals 280, the inverse or the opposite of 4 times s would be to divide by 4. So multiplication's inverse operation is divide. So my next step would be to further isolate by dividing in this one by 4. So after I've divided by 4, then these cancel, and I'm left with s equals, I have my line here, s equals 70, because 7 times 4 is 28, so 70 times 4 is 280. So my last step then is to plug it into the original, which was 4s minus 82 equals 198. So if I say that 4 times 70 minus 82 had better be equal to 198. Let's see if that's true. 280 minus 82. If you take away 82 from 280, you do get 198. So I know that my last step is to substitute that number in for that variable and then double check to see if it works. So those are the steps that I would do in order to solve a problem with an equality like this.